Hello, everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me. It is your host, founder, and conductor on this wild ride, Demetrius Villa. Also joined here by our co-conductor slash engineer, Ruben van Mijero, all the way from Europe. Welcome back.
Hey, and you got my name actually pretty well.
Hey.
I got a scoop for you guys. This is probably my last live stream from Estonia, as this is probably my one of my last weekends. So next time I will be back in Belgium. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey guys.
where the time will be a little bit better than he is over there, and then there may be some surprises later down the line. So we'll see. Just giving you guys, let your imagination run wild over there. Let's see who's in the comments over here. G123. What does gas even apply if the trains are electric? Well, maybe they're diesel. I wanted to put in some Eurobeat over there as I just came back. Well, I didn't just come back, but last weekend we didn't have a live stream because I was down back in Florida for a bit to go ahead and visit my family and to visit some friends and everything. And if you guys remember Alex, who was also part of the club back over when we were in FIU, we hung out a bit. And, things were pretty good. Also hung out with the family. We went and visited the Breakers Hotel, which if those of you who are familiar with Florida East Coast history, the Breakers Hotel was one of Henry Flagler's creations down in West Palm Beach. I would show you the pictures, but for some reason the pictures are having a problem coming out of my phone and into the PC. But maybe next stream, or maybe we'll have a stream later in the week or something like that. I'm trying to do some more activity on the club since things are starting to calm down a little bit in terms of what we're trying to do and where we're focusing on. So that's good. Good afternoon, Adam. Good evening, Mohammed. Yeah. It's 9 o'clock here and it looks like 5, but that's the summer.
I mean, important question. What's the name of the one store in Florida you constantly want to go to get a sandwich? What's the store name? Did you go to there at least?
Oh, we're talking about Publix?
Yeah.
Oh, of course I went to Publix. Where shopping is a pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course I went to Publix. All right. And speaking of summer, guys, we have of course, the sale is always on there on Teespring. So if you guys ever want merchandise that you don't have to depend on my lazy ass to go ahead and get done, it's right on there, and you're guaranteed to go ahead and get it. So you can get one of these T-shirts so you can go ahead and work out at the gym. It is summer, guys. I mean, enjoy it. So if you want to go ahead and put some pumps in the gym and show off high-speed rail and rail in general and commuter rail and more passenger rail in the country, I mean, come on. That is just, it's a good thing. Go ahead and get one of these T-shirts. It's $17.76. So, yeah, go ahead and enjoy that. Yeah, the sunglasses. I still love these sunglasses. So we have a pretty good helping here of articles. We have a ton of articles, but we're trying to keep everything in 2 hours like last time. We did a pretty great job. So sit back, relax, grab a drink. What we're having today is from Bad Dad Brewing Company here in the Hoosier state of Indiana, from Fairmount, Indiana. It's King of the Castle. It's a Scottish ale from Bad Dad Brewing Company. Again, so I tried this before. It's actually pretty good. Scottish ales, I mean, out of all the ales, it's a better one of the beers that are kind of yellowish, but they're better. Again, I'm more of a fan of dark beer, but let's go ahead and get that started. Oh, that's a nice, richer color. Oh, I think I got that. Let me see. There we are. There we go.
This is probably my last live stream from Estonia. I'm having an Estonian beer. I'm having Double Book Kangi Hede Ulu, which is a strong light beer of 7%. It's still a very nice beer to expand our thinking about trains.
Exactly. Cheers, guys.
Ching.
This is good. All right, so we have a lot to celebrate, guys. Finally, Amtrak is restoring long-distance service and finally upgrading the upholstery. And the upholstery has always been a contention point of many people of how bad the upholstery was on Amtrak, or still is on some trains. They haven't upgraded everything. They're just showing off what the upgrades and overhauls are going to look like. So, I mean, it is fantastic finally, that we're getting something like this. It's this, I guess, sort of faux leather seats, but they look pretty nice. Not only that, it serves a whole bunch of purposes. That canvas cloth, it looked like a crappy 70s car interior, or like a cheap 90s car or something like that. It was always dingy, it was crusty, or if you had some old stains on it, like some kid from 10 years ago left a crayon and it melted there and it's still stuck, or gum or something like that. Finally, they are upgrading them, so yeah. These faux leather seats are a lot cleaner, easier to sit on, easier to clean, especially in the age of the coupe and all that. And look at it, it's a lot nicer. It kind of gives you this sort of vibe of what airline seats are, but it's a lot better because instead of airline seats that have, basically no room, you have a lot more room to share, a lot more leg room on Amtrak. So I mean, it's a heck of a lot better to go ahead and move about in the cabin, move about in the not the cabin, but on the train and everywhere else itself. So these are very nice.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, just look at we're looking at coach, right? So coach immediately looks like business class. Immediately looks like business class.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, there's more legroom in coach.
Yeah.
Just regular, your cheapy coach on Amtrak. I mean, it's not that cheap, but you get a heck of a lot more legroom. And not only that, you don't have to wait for to get out of to cruising altitude, and then you can go ahead and go to the snack go to the snack train or to the dining car or wherever. Go to the bathroom, walk around.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. You don't get funneled by TSA. You can bring your own bottle of vodka on the train. No one's gonna.
Oh yeah.
You can have your own fun. I mean, let's be honest. These trains look like perfect. The new carpet, even the wooden finish in the roomettes, they look great and even more.
I think these look like the same carpet. The carpet and the curtains are the same. I don't know. Those curtains have needed steaming for a long time. Some of those curtains. I know, playing around with them all the time. I mean, some of them. The view liners definitely look. They look fantastic as always. But I mean, these seats on here look pretty well. I mean, these are seats that, like, if you had like a classic car from from like the 50s or the 80s with this type of upholstery, this leather upholstery, it's always going to look comfy. This is on the sleepers over here, and I've had a lot of time in the sleepers too. This is a lot easier to get, to put in and out, and it looks a lot more comfy. Let's be honest. This is just comfier, easier to set about. And probably a lot more friction once you put on the covers and everything. You probably won't even have to. I mean, that's comfy enough. I don't know. Let's see what you guys said here. Somebody's asking, there's no center armrests. Usually they have some seats with center armrests. Let me see. Yeah, some of those don't have them. Well, let's see if we find ones, but I guess it doesn't seem like these have center armrests. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. Here we go, the Superliner bedroom. There we are. Again, setting up the bed is a lot easier. There's more friction now. So you're not slipping and sliding all over the place. And we got the new Siemens chargers. This is a view in Chicago over here, as you can tell from, well, you can't probably tell on the stream here, but there you are. There's the Sears Tower. I'm still going to call it the Sears Tower. It's always going to be known as the Sears Tower. I don't care what name they give it. But there you go. There's your new chargers. There's your new dining cars. Oh no, these seats kind of look the same. But dining is back. Let's see, you got your, check a look at that menu over here. We got lobster crab cakes, green chili cheese tamale, mixed green salad with baby brie, Amtrak's signature flat iron steak. I've had those before. Pan roasted chicken breast, grilled Atlantic salmon, tortellini with pesto cream. Yeah, this is starting to look more like the old style Amtrak menu, which was very good. And we'll also look. I have an article here of how dining on airlines used to be back in the 50s. This is very much how it was. Instead of we took Allegiant down, and I'm not a fan of budget airlines, but it's all that we could afford to be going back and forth. But man, they don't even give you any snacks for free or anything. And if you get a snack, it's $12 for a little lunchable tray that's probably $2 or $3 at your local grocery store, whether it's Kroger or the Superior Publix down in the South.
I mean, budget airlines are at least honest to you. They say like you pay for a ticket and that's it. No frills. You just pay for what you get. So I mean, at least they're being honest. Like some airlines, I'm not gonna say what airlines because I don't want to get in trouble, but some airlines are not that honest about their pricing and what they offer. So that's why I prefer train and especially I prefer Amtrak. If I'm going to the US, I probably will. Like when that you will know, chat soon. But that's why I prefer Amtrak or trains because they're more honest and at least we can actually walk around and don't get filmed by TSA.
Yeah. And here, check this out, guys. Here's the new Siemens Charger. This logo in the new livery. There you go. Look at that. Red, blue, silver, classic Amtrak color there. There we are in Chicago there in the background. So yeah, there we go. Things are moving along for Amtrak. So much that now Congress is looking to put in more money. Let me see if I can get this screen. For some reason, it's having a little bit of an issue just setting up over here. So I can get everything. There we go. There we go. Now we got it in. Okay. Let me see if I can put this all set that here. All right. Let's go ahead and go to the next article over here. So Congress this week has been pretty busy with the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee, as well as some of the infrastructure bills, different versions of an infrastructure bill that this country so sorely needs in terms of whether you want to make America great again or build back better. It's all indicative that the country's infrastructure, the country as a whole, has not been doing well for such a long time. And it is time that we need to catch up with the rest of it. Well, we're playing catch up, guys. Let's be honest with that. We are playing catch up with the rest of the world. I don't mean ketchup as in ketchup tomato sauce or tomato, whatever you want to call it. But we need to catch up in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of our way of living and everything else. Okay? So, let's see here in this article. High-speed rail is getting a last-minute push from lawmakers and lobbyists as Congress debates how to revamp the nation's infrastructure. So, here we go. Let's go ahead and move this just a bit. Oh, I messed that up now. Great. Let me see if I can get that. There we go. Okay. There we are. This keeps happening. I don't know why OBS is giving me a problem with this now. It's just what it is. So, here we go. All right. But unlike the Senate bill, the House legislation doesn't allow private rail firms to receive federal funding. So this is the big problem. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, Congress, the House Transportation Committee met with several leaders in the high-speed rail sector, okay? Amtrak, you had Brightline, you had Texas Central Rail, you had California High-Speed Rail, all the top representatives from all those companies or organizations came in, met with Congress, answered questions, gave suggestions as to how Congress, how the new administration could help to revitalize and help to bring about more high-speed rails, particularly for passenger rail. I mean, there was a little bit about other rail. I mean, you had some of your red herrings there, like Hyperloop. But really, the big stars were mostly, there was a lot of back and forth between what Brightline needed and Amtrak, as well as a lot of good, I would say Seth Moulton is probably the best champion for high-speed rail in this country. And he's done a lot of good work. But there are some now, there's some contention now in terms of one thing here, which was that Mike Reininger from Brightline suggested that there needs to be more help for private firms, particularly in trying to make sure that they have less red tape to deal with and that there's more access to funding. And those access to funds could be in the terms of private activity bonds, like Brightline has used, or low-interest loans that have to be paid back. So that's sort of these sort of ways can be used to help and bring about that. So let's see. So the House legislation bill doesn't allow private rail firms to receive federal funding. So if you guys don't aren't aware, the House is right now leaning more Democrat, and the Senate is a little bit leaning more Republican. Unless you have the tiebreaker there with Kamala Harris as vice president, but that's sort of where things are going now. It is kind of a split house, but not really that much. Not as much as the media tries to make it as it is. Companies, unions, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are now rallying behind an amendment from Representative Dina Titus, Democrat of Nevada, that would allow private firms to receive federal grants when partnering with state or local governments on high-speed rail. So if you guys are not familiar, Dina Titus was one of the she's one of the representatives on the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee, and she was very supportive of Brightline. Yeah, Brightline West. I mean, if you guys remember that, I can't link exactly where, but if you scroll forward into the meeting, she was much more excited for high speed for Brightline West to come and connect Nevada, to connect Las Vegas down to Los Angeles, because it would be a massive boon to the state. I mean, Nevada, of course, the biggest city there in Nevada is Las Vegas. I mean, you have Reno and some other little cities around there. It is very sparsely populated, but Las Vegas being the center and the biggest metropolitan area in there, and having it connected to high-speed rail not only helps to push business, but also helps to bring in more residents into the state, because now you have another form of transportation there. So that's really a big thing. So this is, again, it's very weird that you're finding a lot of bipartisan support where you wouldn't find it otherwise in terms of other aspects of politics, where you have Democrats pushing for private businesses rather than Republicans in some ports. We're again, the classic view, I guess, for the last 20 years is that Republicans are friendlier to private business. That's not really true, but that's sort of what's been perpetuated by the media.
I mean, this is actually really beautiful if you think about it, That's actually what I love. I would have hated it. I would have absolutely hated if railroads were, either Republican or Democrat territory. That would have been the worst thing ever. But seeing bipartisan support just shows how important railroads are for everyone. And think like, okay, we need better railroads. And what I really loved about Dina was during the committee, in the beginning you could see she was very skeptical. She was saying like, private railroad is it really gonna solve our issues? And at the end, I mean, if she would get offered the job at Brightline, we should say yes. I mean, you could see how people start to realize the benefits of private railroads.
Right.
So I'm really glad to see that people are saying like, hey, maybe we should include private railroads into this funding. I have this very weird ideology when it comes to starting new railroads, but I believe we need modern protection, but we also need 19th century possibilities, because everyone should have the right to start their own railroads, but once you get bigger, you should have the protection, and you should apply and you should adhere to the regulation of the 20th century, if that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah. And that's sort of what we want. I mean, look, I would still think that by far the most prosperous time in American history was the Gilded Age. And of course, it wasn't gilded for everybody, but if we can have now sort of the protections that we have for workers, combined with that sort of push in terms of innovation, technology, because it was still the biggest push of technology that the world had ever seen. Up to that age, that was the beginning of the modern era. But if we can have that and sort of a return back to having a country that is united and one in terms of we're all looking for the same goal, then yeah, everybody can be able to prosper from that. That's sort of what we're kind of looking at. So if we look over here now, you see Titus says she will work with House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee Chairman Peter DeFazio, Democrat of Oregon, to incorporate provisions from her measure in a manager's amendment before the bill goes to the House floor. So this would be very good, and if the Senate can be able to agree with this, which most likely they probably would if these provisions are put in there, then that would be good. Now, this effort comes from more than 2 months after President Biden released his $2.3 trillion American Jobs Plan, an infrastructure proposal that calls for $80 billion to expand and improve railways. Though industry experts say that money will mostly be spent on updating existing Amtrak lines rather than building new high-speed rail projects. Now, again, we've gone over this bill. Now, we've had bills like this introduced where the executive branch, mainly the president and his team, or mostly his team, because most of the time, these presidents don't write anything. You can't expect somebody like Trump or Biden to actually be writing something coherent. But now, the thing is that when they go ahead and make these proposals, that's basically what they are. They are proposals, they are suggestions and guidelines as to what the executive branch is looking for. Mm-hmm. The legislative branch will go ahead and take those suggestions and make a bill for the executive branch to go ahead and sign off on. Okay, again, that's basically how our politics work in this country. This is how our system works. That's just basic 101 civics, at least for American civics. While parts of Europe and Asia are covered by high-speed rails, the U.S. doesn't have any trains that go fast enough to be considered high-speed. So here we are. A bipartisan group of 10 senators, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, recently reached an agreement on a framework for a smaller infrastructure proposal than Biden's, but it's unclear if high-speed rail would get funding. Brightline CEO, like I mentioned earlier, Michael Reininger, told reporters last week that his company won't let infrastructure negotiations go by without, quote, seizing the opportunities to secure federal funding that would activate billions of dollars in private investment for high-speed rail. Quote, we think this could motivate the private sector to get off the sidelines and get into the game. And here's another big thing, which is where Brightline is really pushing ahead. Because they know how the game is being played right now. They've gotten more used to it. Brightline increased its lobbying spending by 80% in the first quarter of 2021 compared to the same period last year. The company retains 9 lobbyists at 3 Washington firms, including former transportation aide George Ricardo and former Representative Eliana Ross Layton, who used to be a representative down in South Florida. She was there forever. Who backed Brightline Florida Railway between Miami and West Palm Beach as a lawmaker. So again, I've talked about this before. Lobbyists can go both ways. Again, most of the time, lobbyists don't really go both ways. They usually go towards one end, which is, the places which really make most money in this country, which is mostly the airlines and the automobile makers. The thing is now that... Oh, wait, what happened here?
Disaster.
Yeah, I think the page just refreshed. But anyway, so here's the difference here. Now Brightline knows how the game is played. So they're gonna play it. They know exactly how it's being played, and that's what they're doing. Which is definitely that's the way they should be going ahead and going about this. Which is going ahead and getting lobbyists that are gonna do it. Now, again, do I think it's a great thing that our country runs basically on lobbying money and whoever's got the most amount of cash? No, I don't think it's a great thing, but that's the way it is right now. And until that's either changed or until whatever happens later on, this is the way it's going to go. That's just what it is.
I mean, let's be honest. Lobbyist is such a very weird word. It started like lobbyist, like literally lobbyists, like people saying lobby to get their deal on. I mean, if you think about it, we are lobbyists for trains, so it's a very weird word to think about it. But I'm really glad to see that there's a shift in thinking in the US and in general, like globally even. There's this weird, I mean, not weird, but a good change in thinking that they're saying, like, you know what? Trains are actually a good thing. Maybe that was the good thing about it. Goof. That people are now considering that, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't cram people into a small tube soaring through the sky that could be the next episode of Air Crash Investigation. Maybe we should invest in trains. And it's good to see that people are actually thinking about investing in trains and that the trains are actually getting more and more, this is going to sound very weird, but I'm going to say more powerful, because people are seeing more and more the benefits. And I'm a very optimistic but also a very cynical guy, but now I'm going to let my optimistic side win a little bit here. I'm going to say that funding is also going to be more available to private railroads. That's going to happen no matter what. But, hung parliament, it's going to happen.
Yeah, way. And especially here's the next part of this article that really got my attention. I've been telling you, a lot of you guys, that even Democrats in California have been kind of getting sick. Not kind of. They've been getting very sick about how the California high-speed rail project has been handled for the past decade now. It's been about 10 years since this project has been, more than 10 years since they've broke ground with, you had Governor Schwarzenegger and everybody else there, and the previous governor, and now Newsom. Which I don't know. It could be. We could be seeing. Yeah, but here we are. So look at this. California Treasurer Fiona Ma, who's a Democrat, cited the embattled project in a recent letter to lawmakers, urging them to provide an avenue for public-private partnerships on high-speed rail projects. And she says, quote, "To be clear, a repeat effort that spends billions without getting any new lines operational after another decade will be the death of high-speed rail in America." I've been saying this. I mean, Ruben, you've known this, and everybody who's listening knows this. I've been saying this for years. If California keeps doing this, it is going to be more detrimental to high-speed rail. It already created this festering sore in America's infrastructure politics, this hyperloop, red herring, vaporware. Okay, that's one of the progeny of the California high-speed rail project. It created this. Okay, it created this on the first page of that alpha document that Elon Musk wrote down. He blamed the California high-speed rail project. If it wasn't for that failure, now granted, Hyperloop could have been pushed out or whatnot, but that was the main impetus. That was at least 70% of a fault of that. Okay, it's not to say that California, secretly did that or anything like that. That's BS. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the failure of that influenced Elon Musk's decision to go ahead and create the Hyperloop. That's just reality. That's just what it is. Let's see. So there's simply no way the public will continue to support such an agenda without seeing tangible results. And after 2 hugely expensive bites at the apple, could you really blame them? Even the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, okay, that's the big union, for trucking and for railroads, mostly trucking, also urged lawmakers to make federal grants available for public-private railway projects. So these private, we call P3s, public-private projects, usually called P3s in this country. They're very well known to go ahead and get a lot of private support and a lot of private money and a lot of government support, and these are the things that actually work the best in this country. Okay, now again, everything in the United States is super expensive. Okay, but for projects to actually come to fruition, P3s have been probably the most efficient. Apart from Brightline, which is all private. Of course, they are having partnerships with you can't just go ahead and they're not just building a railroad separated from government. They're just they're not doing that. They're actively going ahead and creating partnerships with local municipalities, with the state, with counties, etc., to go ahead and build Brightline and build those partnerships between the government. So it is technically a public-private partnership. It's not a public-private partnership in the sense that the government also has a hand in telling Brightline what to do and saying, well, this is what we want to plan out. Okay, now Brightline said we're going to do a high-speed rail. Well, they're going to do Intercity Express passenger rail system between Miami and Orlando. Okay, and the government signs off on that. Okay, it's different. It's a technical P3 when the government says we want to build between Orlando and Miami, and we're gonna have this company go ahead and do it. Okay, that will be a public-private partnership. That's what was going to be the Florida Overland Express, which if you guys have seen that video that we put out, that was a P3 project that was going to happen happen down in Florida, of course, until it was killed off by Jeb Bush. So that's sort of the reality of what happens and the reality, the history of that. So yeah, there's a little bit more in this article, but we've gone over some of the big deal. Here's what Moulton said here. Briefly served as managing director of Texas Central before he ran for Congress. Was one of the several lawmakers who voiced supports for Titus's amendment during a committee markup last week. How do we pay for high-speed rail? This is easy compared to the alternative, Moulton said. We don't just have to use federal dollars, we can use private dollars as well. This amendment makes it possible, and that's exactly what we need to do. Last month, Moulton released a plan to spend $205 billion on a national high-speed rail network, a proposal industry experts don't expect to gain traction in Washington, which is sad because I think his proposal, out of every federal proposal. Now, Granted, I have also said that we're not going to get high-speed rail done from a federal level. That's not going to happen in this country. Yeah, it's look.
Yeah.
To be honest, even like the state of Texas, is the size of California, Maine, and New York combined. And Texas like encompasses, like, if you put Texas on top of Europe, it would be 80% of Western Europe. Okay?
Yeah.
Texas is massive. Okay? And that's just one state in the union. Okay? And then you put in California, Florida, and New York, and every other state in there. Okay? The United States is massive. It is a massive place. It's bigger than you think. Okay? It's technically several countries put together. That's what it is. That's the union.
Yeah.
That's why we're called the United States.
Can I drop a black pill / red pill on high-speed rail right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so everyone says like, oh my god, we should be more like Europe, or we should be more like Asia. Okay, this is the thing. There's no national European high-speed rail plan.
Yeah.
And there's never gonna be a national American railroad plan. It's never gonna happen because, let's be honest, who's gonna go to Boise? Who's gonna take a train to their like high-speed train? That's not gonna happen.
I mean, there's some people who would, like in Idaho, want to go to Boise on a high-speed rail, but that's up to the people of Idaho and people in that area. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I want to say. I mean, you have Montana Rail Link. There's never going to be high-speed rail in Montana, even though Montana is a very beautiful state and you can do whatever the hell you want. But still, you're going to have to work with states or tri-state areas. Because in Europe, I live in Belgium. Everyone would think, oh my god, Belgium is a country. True, we're a country, we're independent, we have our own history, and we were actually the first country recognized by the United States of America. Fun story, we're the oldest alliance of the US.
Yeah.
But we work in the Benelux area, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and we still don't have a high-speed rail between the three countries. And we're the size of Maryland. Belgium the size of Maryland. But in Europe, we work with each country, and then we're going to look like, okay, which countries are neighboring to us, and how can we get some fast rail connections? That's how we got the PBA, Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, high-speed rail.
Right.
Working, and that's the same thing is going to happen in California and US. You're going to think, okay, what's the closest states, and how can you get some fast trains going? There's never going to be a national high-speed rail plan. Sadly, but let's be honest, there's never ever going to be a high-speed train from Chicago to LA, maybe via states rules, but never national.
Yeah.
And that's the difficult thing to swallow, but that's actually the good thing. You know, that's actually a very good thing if you think about it, because they're going to look at what's the most important for our states, and believe it or not, what the most important thing is for your state is also the most important thing for your country. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If Illinois, Wisconsin think about, like, okay, how can get trains fast? They can have a fast connection between Milwaukee and Chicago, which in the end is going to speed up the Empire Builder and other rail services. So every small level increasement of service is going to be a snowball effect. And in the end, you're going to get such a rolling snowball from the side hill. Everyone's going to win.
Exactly.
So that's what they're going to deal with now. We're first going to think how to fix it on state level, and then in the end, like, let's be honest, when you're going to be 70 years old, because infrastructure is a very long story, you're going to think, oh my god, we have such a great regret network. And let's be honest, the future is bright, but first think state level and then think bigger.
Yeah, and again, the reason why I say the future is bright, because at least our generation is thinking about doing this, whereas, okay, again, it's you know, it's always something that we can go ahead and, you know, bring about, you know, complaining about the last generation, not mainly complaining, but more of just bringing about the reality is that the last generation, you know, dropped the ball badly. The boomer generation really dropped a lot of that. However, at least now in this generation, we're starting to think about that, and whenever, you know, the boomers start to let go of their power, you know, then things can maybe start to move along in our states. Speaking of, let's see here in the comments, there's no way to build high-speed rail in Montana. There's a way, but again, the population density isn't there. And somebody mentioned high-speed stalking horse, high-speed rail will not work on Montana or Idaho, not enough population density. Yeah, that's just the reality. And to expect, let's say, the people of Illinois, or Chicago, because basically Chicago runs Illinois. And then we have refugees from Chicago coming over here to Indiana, which they're not welcome, no. But to expect people in Chicago to go ahead and, you know, use their tax money to go ahead and pay for Montana, That's not going to fly for a lot of people. Now, let's say if Montana were to get, or Idaho, because there's a lot of people moving to Idaho. Okay, it's the worst kept secret in the United States that a lot of people, especially a lot more conservatives, are moving over to Idaho because they see this as this sort of refuge or anything like that. The less people talk about Indiana, the better. I want to be left alone over here. The less people move over here, the better. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just want to keep things nice and simple. But the thing is that let's say Boise, Idaho were to enact a massive amount, a good amount of density, right? And there's a good sized population in what's the other city, Eau Claire, or one of those cities in Idaho, like in northern Idaho. Then they can probably get maybe a diesel train, a higher speed diesel train, like a Siemens Charger type. Between those two cities, that would be quite easy to do. But to expect that we're trying to get a national high-speed rail network. Now, the thing is that with Moulton's plan, he's not trying to do a high-speed rail network. And this is the thing on the hill over here, this where I'm getting this article from. It's not that Moulton is going ahead and saying we're going to build this map out and this is what we're going to do. No, he's clearly stating out ways to increase funding to make it easier for high-speed rail and for passenger rail projects to happen in this country, which is where the federal government can actually help out in making it easier for the states and regions in order to build passenger rail projects in between their biggest cities. That would actually work, as well as having feeder networks in between smaller cities and also inducing regional rail and also commuter rail inside these metropolitan areas. So that actually works. So that's, again, what was said here in this article about Moulton's plan of saying a national high-speed rail network. No, Moulton is not saying to spend $205 billion on a national high-speed rail network. He's putting $205 billion in a pot, very simply in a pot, to say to the states, okay, if you have a high-speed rail project that looks like it's going to work and you have it all set up, maybe in a P3 project, then we'll go ahead and induce some funding through this $205 billion pot, which actually works. Speaking of that, Texas, where Seth Moulton used to work at, has signed a contract with WeBuild to serve as design build lead for their historic project for Dallas and Houston. So $16 billion contract.
Yeah.
There we go. Operating in the U.S. market with the Lane Construction Corporation, a global leader in engineering and construction, to lead the civil construction team that will build the Texas passenger line.
Small round of applause.
Yeah, here we go. This is good. So things are moving ahead. Again, so this is a private project. Again, and this is why I say private projects are doing very well in the United States. Okay, and P3 projects would do well. Let's say California has a chance. If it were to turn into a P3 project, that would fix a lot, because now you have private money invested, and private money wants to get money back. Okay, that's the way business works in America. Okay, businesses want to make money, and they don't want to waste time to wait for money. You can see that as a good thing. You can see that as a bad thing. I mean, look, if you're putting a cake in the oven, right? You don't want to wait till tomorrow to have the cake. You want to, bake your cake and eat it too as quickly as possible. So that's true with anything. Okay. So this is actually good. This is very good. Well, this is good. I'm not saying it's actually good. This is good. So our goal is to build together a team of the best players in the world from each industry needed to bring this project to life. The addition of WeBuild helps us accomplish that goal, said Carlos Aguilar, the CEO of Texas Central. WeBuild has 115 years of experience designing and building some of the world's best-known projects, and we're proud to have them as a leader on this historic project. Okay, so it's built many high-speed train projects in Europe and some iconic complex projects in the wider transport sector, including the expansion of the Panama Canal, the Grand Paris Express, and the Anacostia River and Northeast Boundary Tunnels in Washington, D.C. Okay.
What was the name of the company again?
WeBuild. It was probably known as different names. I mean, it's like, I don't know. That's been a new thing now of companies naming them as like, we work, we build, we this, we that. Like what was the what was the company that recently went bankrupt? The one that had all the real estate that was like, basically like the Airbnb of company real estate offices.
I mean,
I just looked up.
I think that was
WeBuild,
called WeWork, right?
I mean, I just looked up WeBuild, and let's be honest, they have like this. If there would be an employee and you would see their resume, you would already think like, oh my god, this is the CEO of our company. They have such an incredible resume. They've built railroads in the most inhospitable environments possible. So
Yeah.
these guys, they're serious business. They're already light years ahead of California. So this is the most typical Texan thing to do, you know.
Yeah.
California's like, oh my god, we're the first, and Texas is like, okay, sure, let's wait a little bit, and then they're gonna pull the biggest yeehaw on you, and they do it way better than you could ever imagine. Like this is the most Texan thing ever.
Okay, so I got some information here on WeBuild, so we can look a little bit more, so everybody here is not like locked. So WeBuild here was formerly known as Salini Impreglio, SPA. So it's an Italian company. The company was formally founded in 2014 as a result of a merger by incorporation of Salini into Impreglio. Salini Impreglio is the largest Italian engineering and general contractor group and a global player in the construction sector. Okay, so what have they done? The Kariba Dam in Zimbabwe, formerly known as Rhodesia. The Des Dam in Iran. The Akosombo Dam in Ghana. The salvage of the Abu Simbel temples. I know that was a big project. The Bay Fonvier in Monaco. The Tarbela Dam in Pakistan. The Frejus Road Tunnel in France and Italy. The Trans-Gabon Railway in Gabon. The San Roque Gonzalez de Santa Cruz Bridge in Argentina and Paraguay. The new hemicycle of European Parliament. The Lesotho Highlands Water Project. Extensions of the Rodovio dos Imigrantes in Brazil. The Ghazi Brotha Dam in Pakistan. Okay, I'm gonna have a trouble pronouncing this one. The Nathpa Jarkri Dam in India, the Sheikh Zayed Mosque in the UAE, the desalination plant in the UAE, the Karanjakur hydro plant in Iceland, the Turin, Milan, Bologna, Florence high-speed railways. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So they have worked on high-speed railways.
I mean, if you look down, you can already see they have the Texas Railroad, Central Railroad, Railway already on there.
They have already added this on the Wikipedia article here. Yeah. The Doha Metro in Qatar. That's another big one. The City Ring and the new subway circular urban line in Copenhagen. So they've worked on a lot of stuff. The expansion of the Panama Canal. The Grand and portions of the Grand Paris Express due to complete in 2025. Yeah, so these guys are definitely legit. They've worked on a lot of projects, and big projects.
I mean, they're not Ansaldo Breda. Like, this is probably one of the best Italian companies. Like, you know, Italian engineering in Europe has looked like, are you sure? But this is one of these companies you think like, holy they're so good. Like, this is one of these companies you think they are like, you know, one of these projects, if you would read it like in history 150 years from now, and you could think like, oh my god, this is such a big project, but this is the same company doing again and again like these huge projects. Like, this shows how much this company can do, and they are gonna build the Texas Central Railway.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do what they're gonna do. So we have the best engineering from Europe, we have the best trains from Japan, we have the best business enterprise from the US, because let's be honest, best business enterprise is always found in Texas. Like, let's be honest, best business in Texas. I mean, that's worldwide known. Best business in Texas. So best business in Texas, best engineer from Europe, best trains from Japan. This is just to combine the best of the best together, just to get the best trains possible.
Yeah.
So I'll be surprised if Texas Central Railway would have one issue. I will be genuinely surprised.
They're having no issues, and again, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I can bet on it that they'll probably have a working rail system and a working infrastructure way before California ever does.
You know what? I'm gonna place a bet. No, I'm gonna place a very, very specific bet. But in 2026, or no, let's say in 2025, or let's be honest, right after completion of the railroad, like 1 month after the railroad is done, Ted Cruz is gonna submit a law or something to a existing law proposal to get more funding to Texas Central Railway. I'm gonna place the bet right now for. I'm gonna look at my wallet. I have right now, for real, I have right now $26 in my wallet. So I'm gonna place a bet for $26 that that Cruz is gonna make a law proposal or an expansion of an existing law proposal to get more funding to Texas Central Railway because this.
I don't know. That's a risky bet because you're also betting that Ted Cruz is still going to be senator at that time.
I mean, he could already be president, but let's be honest.
Let's see. Now you're betting he's going to be president. I don't know. That's a big $26 bet, but I mean, hey, with what you're betting, that could turn into $2,600 easily. If you're betting he's not only going to be still senator but also president, and get this through, that'll be funny.
Profit maximization, profit maximization.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and let's look at the comments, and then we'll bring on stage who we have in the audience over here. Our friend, hello, it's hello. So let's go look at the comments here. Someone's saying 100% private. Yeah, that's a good way. Again, it's when we say private, it's not totally 100% private because in order to go ahead and build a railroad, you have to get a lot of government approval and a lot of other stuff to do. Okay, you can't just go ahead and just overnight just build a railroad. It's not the 1860s or the 1870s where you had the beach tunnel underneath New York. That was being built without any government oversight. It was just there, and they were building it overnight in the matter of like 2 months or something. Whereas the Hyperloop can barely build anything in a matter of 10 years. Whoop-de-doo, they had 2 people move in there. Whoop, whoop. Big freaking whoop. Or they have a tunnel where they have their own Teslas going back and forth. Big whoop.
About Tesla tunnel, I just wanted to see the first rule of regularization strike on the tunnel because I looked at the videos of the tunnel, and there's one thing I've been constantly thinking: what if you get stuck in the tunnel? How do you get out of the car? How do you escape?
It doesn't look like there's enough space to actually open the doors on that Tesla. And I've opened, I've driven Teslas, I've rented them, and I've driven them, extensive amount. Those doors open pretty wide for a car that size. They made it that way. It's not going to be able to open up all the way. Let's see where else over here. Hooray for all the efforts taking place in Eastern Massachusetts. Yeah, there's some more happening over there in Boston. So, can Amtrak replace Greyhound routes? Again, the Greyhound is going to have a place where it's going to go into places which does not have rail transportation. I mean, that's just the reality of it. There's the Greyhound of the skies, which are the airlines.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be honest. Greyhound would profit much more if they would have a sharing program with Amtrak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So imagine if you would get.
But they do. They actually do. I mean, they have it's Amtrak. Yeah, it's Amtrak Thruways. Yeah, they've been had that.
Throughways,
Yeah.
But I mean more expansion of service because you have Amtrak to. I mean, let's say the Empire Builder because for some weird reason I have the train in my mind right now. So imagine the Empire Builder, and imagine that every route you have the Greyhound connection, but it's already in your Amtrak tickets.
All right.
I would enlarge Amtrak services much more because you get more places at the same time. So I would say on certain routes Amtrak would replace Greyhound, but on other routes I would say Greyhound would expand Amtrak.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
All right. Let's bring on hello. It's hello.
Oh yeah, good guy.
Hey.
Hey there. How you doing?
How are you been doing?
Doing all right. How about you?
I've been kind of okay. I finished school, hooray.
Wait, you're done with school.
Yeah, I
All right.
don't have any
Nice,
more to
man.
do, no AP tests to take. I'm very happy.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, but I do feel like that I do kind of want to set the record straight on more California stuff because, I mean, even subtle call out, what you
Yeah.
guys have been saying is also kind of stuck in 2012. Yeah, so basically, in terms of recent news, I will say this. There's been big news out of the Department of Transportation. They settled with the Caltrans and the authority for it was like 900 something billion dollars that within 3 days of the settlement, like the US DOT and the FRA were like required in the settlement terms to pay up. Let me try and send the document in the Discord, and then
Yeah.
you could link it.
Yeah, please send it in Discord.
Yes, California v. DOT settlement final May 26th. So it's already actually been paid.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna send that in the general lobby. Check. Join
that
the
like?
Discord. Join the Transport Central Discord. Shameless
Oh
plug.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there you are, guys.
Yeah.
What was that the PTC settlement or the other settlement?
No,
I
I
got
believe that was just the settlement for.
Yeah.
I believe
I mean,
it's a more general thing.
Yeah.
It didn't say in the settlement agreement what the money was for, just who it was going
Yeah.
to. But also in regards to P3s, in their business plan, one of the things that they said is like they almost had an entire chapter's worth dedicated say, hey, look, we know the legislature is unreliable. We know we can't like ask them for money. We know that we will have to be scrambling like hell to get a private partner for this. And actually I haven't heard anything official, but I have heard like kind of murmurings that they are very close to actually getting a private partner. Yay! So now they can say, hey, we've got private involvement.
Oh yeah.
In California high-speed rail. Which is
I,
awesome.
I do have to admit, well, not admit that like if I'm hiding it or anything like that, but when we spoke to Scott Jarvis, who I don't know if he's still the engineering head of California High Speed Rail Authority. I believe he still is. Yeah. But he did say that, one of the goals that they wanted for the company was for it that, once they build the infrastructure, that it would be run by a private company or would be put off to a P3 project.
Yes.
The thing is that because currently it isn't run as a P3 now, it's run as a government organization, fully as a government organization, that you don't have that private investment or that private hand that's, pushing to help bring that about. That's really where it is. And then you have all these, where they bring in, 12 different advisors on there that aren't communicating with each other, and they don't care, and then they pay them all millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That raises a red flag of corruption within the California High Speed Rail.
With that actually is that the authority definitely is nowhere near perfect, but a lot of those advisors, very few of them are appointed by the authority themselves. A lot of them are actually the legislature coming in and saying, hey, we want these people to work on it because these people support our interests.
Yeah.
Which is a main concern.
Or they gone ahead and donated to my campaign, and I want to put them on there and pay them back, something like that. It usually goes.
The main concern is actually, like, I'd say on being conservative, about the third of the state Senate wants the project to just die in a hole.
Yeah.
Which is not good. Although I will say this is probably going to get quite a few people mad. But in terms of high-speed rail, I mean, Newsom's not good, but he's the best we've got, so we should keep him.
Yeah, because your other alternatives are going to really mess it up. I mean, California is in a big mess already as it is. But the other alternatives that you have for governor are not going to be friendly to high-speed rail. And that's the thing. Look, it's like, what else are you going to do with California? What? So you put in Jenner as governor. How's that going to help California? And how's that going to actually, is she going to finish high speed rail? No. She's going to kill that. She's going to kill that off.
Yeah. no, it's the gubernatorial race is a whole other shit show I could talk about.
Yeah.
It's a mess. But yeah,
And I don't think that they're ever
Yeah.
going to have a Republican there in California at that point. I mean, yeah, they can be mad as they want, but they're way outnumbered in California. It's done.
yeah.
I mean,
That's-
Although
um,
actually, on the topic of more
Yeah.
visible progress, I feel like you did mention that California is not going to get anywhere without any sort of like visible progress.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there definitely is visible progress, just not really the kind that makes the news or that like the public
Yeah.
will see. A train moving makes the news.
yeah.
But like them completing a really big ass viaduct, which again, let me link the let me link the completion information or the status of the San Joaquin River Viaduct because that actually recently got completed.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think we
yeah.
covered that the
Yeah.
last time. Yeah, the
Yeah.
viaduct. We
Yeah.
talked
All the,
about that.
Yeah, all the pillars at the Hanford Viaduct are done too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
So
Can
again, it's yeah, sure.
can I pull a 5D chess move on Demetrius right now?
Ooh, this is gonna be fun to watch.
Oh, this will be funny. All right, go ahead, bring it.
I'm very sure of what I'm going to do, but I'll be honest. Caltrain, I believe, from my point of view, would be better if it was state-run because I love
Really?
watching the Caltrain gap view videos about electrification, and I believe Caltrain is one of those routes that are better state-run because they're relatively short, but they serve such a high potential. And I've also been looking at the California high-speed rail, and I've also watching Forefoot. If you don't follow him, guy,
Fourfoot's
please do.
awesome.
Yeah, he's
Fourfoot
good.
is
Like,
amazing.
yeah, he knows what he does. And I've been following California way more than I dare to admit. I've been following the Santa Ana OC streetcar project, but I believe the Caltrain project is better as governmental run because it's more like a general public served service. And they still have the service, but let's be honest, Hulu, you know what station I'm going to talk about? Recently, recently between brackets, they have this new station done, which is on the above
Hillsdale. Hillsdale.
Yeah.
Hooray.
And yeah, that's the station I was talking about. I believe Caltrain is better governmental run. And maybe Caltrain, not Caltrain, but the high-speed train better as PPS. I mean, I was still okay. In Belgium, it's called PPS instead of PPP. But I believe it's better as public PPP, triple Ps.
Yeah,
public,
P3.
Private, yeah, private. Okay, yeah. in Belgium,
Public-private
it's called
partnership.
PPS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the issue I have. Like I have to translate this double. But still, I believe there is this possibility to get it done. And I also agree with you, Hulu, because an overpass doesn't get to news. Hey, we lift this road. Everyone's gonna think, okay, so what? So from a PR marketing point of view, it'd be nice to have like this short stretch of track of like this, 100 yards piece of track. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we're doing something. You know what I mean? Just like this short piece of track, but
Yeah.
still show like, hey, we got 100 yards of track. Like we're doing something. But
Actually, I'm really
Yeah?
sorry to interrupt, but on the topic of that,
You
the
should drop as much as you want.
yeah, I do on the topic of California high-speed rail being a public-private partnership, they have actually it's on paper. They've signed something where for the first 30 years, Deutsche Bahn will be the operator, which
Mhm.
means that the timeliness of the trains might be in question. But hey,
Yeah.
at least now they have. I don't know what the exact government relations status of Deutsche Bahn is, but hey, at least Deutsche Bahn already knows how to operate a high-speed
Yeah.
line, so they've got at least some amount of expertise in there. And in regards to building a test track, they
Yeah.
could once that could be coming, actually in likely in 2022 or 2023, when so they're planning to sign the I think before this particular year is out, they're planning to sign the track and systems contract.
Yeah,
What
it-
that means is basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's definitely
They're
going to be
signing a contract,
a
yeah.
DB and Siemens sort of deal there. I don't see it any other way. That's
Yeah,
definitely what
Siemens-
that's.
like. They have a Siemens and the other consortium that I forgot. I
Yeah.
don't believe that the other consortium. they
Mhm.
kind of just half-assed their deal anyway. So
Yeah.
it's likely going to be
But
Siemens, and again, Siemens relatively knowledgeable in terms of
mhm.
this kind of high-speed rail
Oh
topic.
yeah, they're far
Yeah.
ahead here in
Yeah,
this country in terms
Yeah.
of
So
building these projects out. Well, getting the equipment built out, and they already have
yeah,
a factory there near Sacramento,
yeah.
Pittsburgh,
I mean,
yeah,
California, where
I
they've
mean,
built out the new, the Chargers for Brightline for
yeah.
Amtrak.
yeah. I mean,
Actually, no, wait. The factory in Pittsburgh is I forget who owns it, but those I don't believe it is Siemens because I don't believe I know that the BART Fleet of the Future trains were built there, but Siemens did not build the Fleet of the Future trains. I don't believe theirs I think is in. Let me try and see if I know where it is.
I don't know.
In, if we look
I
exactly
think
around.
it is because I remember clearly that I'm like, there's a Pittsburgh, California. So that's why I
Yeah.
remember that it was Pittsburgh, California. That's close to outside of Sacramento or between Sacramento and San Francisco. It's definitely up
It's
in
much closer to the
yeah.
Bay Area though, because it has BART service. But I think
probably.
the Siemens factory that you're thinking
Yeah.
of is Florin, California, which is where the Siemens chargers, the ALC.
It could be. I could be wrong in that. Well,
I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely. Let's get that settled before we end off the stream.
yeah. Let me actually look at.
Yeah,
I believe I heard somewhere in like a Mike Armstrong video about the ALC 42s that it was in Florin, California.
that could be.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Speaking of
can I
California,
quickly interject?
I was just gonna add on to here about for those who aren't aware in
Can I
California.
quickly interject?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a European, so I can already talk in the very European accent.
We know Ruben.
Yeah. But Deutsche Bahn has a. Okay, I have the issue with switching between languages because when I speak German, I speak with a German accent. So that's a weird thing about Europeans. Yeah, ich spreche gerne Deutsch. So yeah, I like to speak German. But Deutsche Bahn has a very good agreement with Siemens, so you can expect to be the California high-speed trains. It's very realistically to expect that the California high-speed rail trains are going to be the Siemens and Velaro
Yeah.
train sets. And
there's a
Deutsche
pretty big
Bahn-
chance that they will be
Yeah.
Siemens Valaras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which is
they will
like,
never.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was
They
kind of
will
like,
never- Yeah, please continue.
yeah, I was kind of felt like a bit kind of down that, yeah, it's another Volaro. Because Volaros do kind of get old. They're basically everywhere in Europe now. Eurostar.
They're not.
Why fix
it's
what's
on-
broken?
yeah.
It works.
Yeah,
I mean, it's usually
it
that
does
or
work.
the TGVs or now the AGVs now, which are we have basically an AGV over the Northeast Corridor that's going to be starting up next year. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's what it is.
Well,
it's always
actually, my
the French
my
against the
brain
Germans, right?
is one
I mean,
Yeah, my
I mean,
pedant brain wants
That
to
never ends
correct me
well.
about that. The Avelia Liberty is not an AGV.
Exactly.
The AGV is a multiple unit. The Avelia Liberty is the
TGV.
Avelia Liberty. Technically, it's a separate thing. It is.
Yeah,
a
I mean, I think it's based off the
Yeah.
chassis of it, though.
That's just me being a pedantic.
Yeah.
little-
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
actually-
it's not an EMU. Yeah.
Okay. Dimitris, AGV stands for Automotrice Grand Vitesse, which means motor rail at high speed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
AGV stands for Grand Vitesse.
Yeah,
So,
Grand Vitesse, yeah.
It's how it is. Yeah, I'm a European, so I have this extra smug about me right now. But
Actually,
I mean-
I do want to see how, because I feel like saying the word like or saying the full name of the TGV post is kind of a very difficult thing, because it's like le TGV Paris is like le TGV Paris, and then Ostfrankreich, Süddeutschland, which is a very very weird.
TGV
Yeah.
Post?
Yeah, Paris, Eastern France, and
Yeah.
South
Grand
Germany.
Vitesse Paris, le Front d'Est. Le France d'Est. I mean,
I
it's a big name.
Yeah, actually the O is
Oost-Frankreich.
yeah, I can't do German.
I mean, dude, you just said Oost-Frankreich in the most German way possible, so
Wow.
don't feel bad about it.
I
Um,
mean, I can kind of do German. Sometimes I have fun reading Wikipedia articles in a
Um,
very bad German
I
accent.
am not good at German, so that's more of
Yeah.
my fiance's alley, but on Holly's alley. But that's she actually learned a little bit of German while she was living
I
here in
mean, Holly
Indy.
is awesome.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, Holly is the best.
Yeah.
But California, I actually feel like California is like this weird mix between the US and Europe. I mean, at certain points, California is doing things right, like the OC streetcar, they doing it right, and then you have the California high speed. You really think like, dudes, are you sure about the steps you're now taking? Because, but I feel a California high speed rail, if they get the people at the right stations, hey, railroad pun intended, they can get a project back right. But first now, I felt like the California high speed rail is a very good school to learn about things.
Yeah.
Big first lesson, don't over or underestimate your project, get things right, and if you present something to the voters, get something right to the voters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've definitely kind of not done the best. Oh, that's a severe understatement. They've done a pretty crappy job.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I will say that
We do have
I
to
will say that-
we do have to have like a full California stream later on because
Yeah,
hello
I feel-
you know a lot
Okay,
about it,
let's
so
bring me on. I'm
Yeah.
a California nerd.
yeah, you are.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, basically, I will say that as of late, given that, again, the state legislature kind of has their mudslinging job, casually trying to dismember it, they've actually been doing substantially better. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, actually, the reason I'm so optimistic about it is because they have the only way is up because they've sucked so bad previously.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is a fair point to bring up that you can be optimistic if there's there's nothing to be
True.
pessimistic about.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
If you
believe
first-
we're running a bit on time
Yeah.
here, so
Yeah,
but
definitely
yeah.
on time.
Ooh,
I do
ooh,
have some
kinda-
things to say about like Texas and
Yeah.
Brightline West, and a few things that I feel like people may be taking that. It might just me being a Californian jealous that my project is crappy, but also I do feel like people are taking Texas Central and Brightline West a little bit too sunshine and rainbow-y,
Mhm.
which is I mean, it's great, but also like you do gotta realize that one of the main reasons that California has been able to accumulate this, if like delays were money, California high-speed rail would have enough money to build itself twice, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But basically,
No, there's no doubt about it that the money is there.
yeah. But the thing is that the only reason they've been able to, or actually one of the main reasons, not the only reason, because that's totally wrong. One of the main reasons they've been able to accumulate all these delays is because they started construction early. They're the only large-scale high-speed rail project, like talking Brightline West like large-scale, Texas Central large-scale, that has begun construction. To their credit, it's not gone very far, but it's further
Yeah.
than the other projects. The other projects are accelerating faster.
I would say yes and no, because then again, Brightline, already has been or was
Yeah.
operating a train, but then again, to be fair, they already had the infrastructure mostly set
Yeah.
up. But
The
in
main
terms
thing
of
is all they had to do is increase the track speed.
right, but between
Because
Cocoa and
it's-
Orlando, that's all completely new infrastructure.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that and again, where California is building the project, though, it's in the Central Valley, so it's not like they're carving through mountains or anything of that sort where they'll have to
Yeah.
do later on. It's basically very flat. It's very similar to where Texas is going to be building, except drier where the California is. Texas,
Yeah.
the
The main
Texas Valley is
issue-
not that dry.
The main issue with this is like the couple of really butthurt landowners that are settling for multiple millions of dollars with the authority because they're like, freedom! I
Yeah.
want my land back.
Florida's got its crazies and California's got its crazies.
Yeah. Trust me, there's a city in the Central Valley called Tulare. I've been there a couple of times because I do archery, and they have an archery tournament there.
Oh,
Shout
cool.
out to anyone who's ever shot state indoors in California. But being there, it smells of like dairy manure, beer, and old guys. Like,
You got
really,
archery
really-
fuds there
yeah.
then.
Yeah,
They're just
Yeah.
attacking me.
Yeah.
yeah. I am in no way afraid to make fun of basically of the Central Valley.
Yeah.
Not so much compatriots as
Oh, definitely.
More
Ooh.
Look, I gotta appreciate you coming on, man. But again, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna probably bring in
Yeah.
one more caller, and then we're gonna go on in. But definitely, let's go ahead and set up in the near future to have just a California stream.
yeah. Let's
Demetrius,
just have a
before-
stream where we like ramble on about California. 'Cause why
Yeah.
not?
Definitely.
So,
Invite
Hulu.
me. Don't forget.
Hulu, big question. If you would have the California stream, would you like to be one of the experts for that?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
I pay way too much attention to it, so
Yeah.
I think it would
So,
do you guys well
Demetrius,
to have
what do you think
information.
about?
Yeah, because that's the thing. I try to every time I see California, I'm always going like this, like oh no oh no where are we going? So I try to get some more good news. I mean I have enough bad news everywhere else.
Yeah.
So please, but I mean there's
I'm
some
the
more good
bringer of
news here.
California news.
Yeah, because I mean, hey, look at
Yeah.
this. I mean, $1 billion, the $1 billion that Trump and Newsom were fighting over the California project. They were playing as a scapegoat. Biden just gave it
Yeah.
back. I mean, that was going to happen
got it
anyway.
back. It's
Yeah,
gotta be-
it's just now official now because we talked about it last stream.
Yeah.
It's like, they're going to bring it back, but now it's official. So
It's on
yeah,
paper and a settlement.
exactly. All right, well, glad having you on, man. Thank you.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure as always.
Of course.
All right,
Thank you.
dude.
Take care,
Shameless
man.
plug, join the
California
Discord,
stream.
Transport Central.
Exactly.
Before I leave, I have to. That's an obligation.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Take care, man.
See you
Have a
next
good
stream,
night
dude.
for Ruben. Have a good morning, I guess.
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock in the morning right now, and 8 minutes is gonna be 4:20, but still, it's gonna be nice to hear.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. It was great having me on. Awesome. Good night.
Dude.
Bye.
Nice one, man.
Take care, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go to super chats.
Yeah, we got a super chat over here actually talking about that great Shock 2957 with this big super chat. Thank you, man. What is going to be the cost per mile in California? Let me see if I can bring that. I know I did research on that. I think it was in my was it in the Shinkansen video? I think it was. I'm trying to figure that. I'm looking back through my old videos right now to see if I can find that exact number because I know I calculated and did that and compared it to Japan's project. Because remember, Japan had to go ahead and do all the research and development in that. I think it's like 2.5 times the cost of what Japan did. That's plus research and development that Japan did. So California doesn't have to do any research and development and make up, reinvent the wheel here. They're just, making the tracks and getting the trains. Which again, we're just waiting for the announcement any day now that it's going to be Siemens. That's we already know that. But yeah, go ahead, Ruben.
Okay, but now you can do like fact checking and super hacking and like hacking the Pentagon. But
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to get my own
guys.
video up there.
Okay, guys, say yes if you think Demetrius is going to be successful in hacking the Pentagon. But I'm going to make a prediction right here, right now. Okay, Demetrius is only keep hacking the Pentagon, and before you know, the stream is going to be offline. But I'm convinced that the high-speed rail equipment for the California high-speed rail is going to be the Siemens Valaro, since Siemens and Deutsche Bahn they work together very well, and every high-speed train used by Deutsche Bahn is Siemens equipment, like the EC1, EC2, EC3, EC4. They're all Siemens equipment. So also the Siemens Venture coaches are also Siemens. Who guessed it in the name? But yeah, actually, somehow I feel optimistic for the California high-speed rail, But as a person, who really likes trains, I feel like before they have the entire high-speed trail project done, they should have electrified every mile. Like they should have electrified from San Francisco to Los Angeles. So each time when they're done, they can switch to the more modernized track, the more high-speed trail track. But they can keep the electrification going for for the freight railroads because in the end, freight railroads can benefit from electrification as their train equipment can be more efficient. Um, yeah, but I don't know about the cost per mile for California. Demetrius, have you already got
Well, I have
for
actually hacked into the Pentagon, or you can say
nice?
YouTube, which is basically, the Pentagon is probably, using Google anyway. So let's
Yeah,
go ahead and look at that. If I can bring that up over here, let me just go ahead and make it smaller. I don't know why they did it. There we go. All right. So when I calculated, I used the $100 billion figure between Los Angeles and San Francisco. So the cost per mile, if it were going to be $100 billion between LA and San Francisco, would be $19 million per mile, which is still a hell of a lot less expensive than most road projects here in the United States, which can cost upwards of $25 to even $50 million per mile. The Japanese National Railway, this is including initial research and development, in 2018 dollars, which I mean that's about the same as 2021 dollars. So it's adjusted for inflation. If Japan was making a new Shinkansen at that time, is $8 million per mile, and that's again including the initial research and development to make an entirely new train system on standard gauge, which was not really done much in Japan. They weren't really most of the trains were narrow gauge. Which if you go
yeah,
on any system in Japan, 9 out of 10 it's narrow gauge. If not, 9.5 out of 10 times it's narrow
yeah.
gauge. The only trains that are standard gauge are the Shinkansen, which is why it's literally called Shinkansen, which is new trunk line, referring to that's the standard gauge line that they're using. It's not that high speed or bullet train. That's the kanji that it's used. It's new Shinkansen, Kansen, new trunk line. So again, my Japanese is still on point when it comes to that. But
The
yeah,
Japanese is better than mine.
yeah. So $19 million per mile. Let's see. Someone over here is saying the $100 billion figure isn't exactly correct. That's California's worst case estimation if everything goes SHIT. Yeah, but it's realistically going to be $100 billion.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that. Most
yeah.
projects usually go over cost here in the United States, if not all. But there you go, Shock. That's the cost. $19 million per mile if everything pans out the way it's supposed to, or is projected to pan out.
I mean,
So
let's be honest. $90 million per mile is still in a very you know the word I'm gonna say, sense, still cheap if you would go for the hyperinflation tube, if
oh
you know what I
yeah,
mean.
I mean, and that's the thing. Look, it's we're talking about return on investment. How much are you spending, and what are you getting out of it? $19 million per mile is super cheap.
Hmm.
I mean, even somebody like Ocasio Cortez. Again, we're not talking about the intelligence of Ocasio Cortez, but even Alexandria Ocasio Cortez knows that it's cheaper. She says here over here in this article, the one talking about AOC, Gillibrand, and Moulton calling for more high speed rail project. She even says here rail is climate infrastructure. For every buck that we're going to put into car and a bridge, we want to put a buck into rail. We want equity. That's what we're here to demand. Look, and we've talked about that even before she was in Congress. Again, she didn't make the Green New Deal. That's a whole bunch of her lobbyist friends that wrote it down, or whoever was, her college professor that wrote it for her. No, that's just the reality. I'm not going to apologize for that, but I'm just saying the truth, okay? I don't care. But I will tell you the truth that passenger rail is a crap ton better in terms of return on investment than roadways in the United States. And roadways in the United States have become overbuilt in the terms that there's too many roads per the amount of people here. and that creates induced demand. And of course, the cost of vehicle ownership in the United States has gotten stupidly expensive. And it's getting even more expensive. We'll talk a little bit more about that after this article in terms of our off the rails segment. I was going to put like a little stinger transition for what we call, and now time for our off the rails segment. I was going to put like some Thomas the Train engine crashes when they're like derailing or something like that. I don't know. I didn't want to put the Ave derailment because that would be a little bit too much, and people would start questioning my my mental state. Not that they haven't already for years, but whatever. Anyway, now don't worry, guys. I haven't been Baker acted or anything like that. I'm not insane. Don't worry. I'm just insane because I want to bring high-speed rail. What's wrong with that? What's the ROI for passenger rail? New tool seeks to quantify broader benefits. So here's the brief of this. The report this month released by the American Public Transportation Association, APTA, offers a methodology for governments and stakeholders to evaluate the broad social, economic, and environmental benefits of passenger rail projects that advocates say government reviews can often miss. The report, which APTA released along with the benefit evaluation toolkit, advocates for a private sector business case for investment with a return on investment, that's ROI formula, that includes wide-ranging benefits to rail development. So ROI, how much you're going to spend and how much you're going to get back. For every dollar you spend, you get X amount of dollars in terms of investment back into the community or into, everybody's wallet, right? Mm-hmm. That approach, APTA said, can help build broad support for investment in passenger and high-speed rail. The traditional benefit cost analysis has a very narrow definition of user benefits that does not cover or capture or recognize the importance of a lot of things that are important to communities and residents, said economic analysis firm EBP's Glenn Weisbrod, one of the report's authors, at a virtual APTA conference. All right, so that's the new tool that they're using. Again, I'm trying to see where the link is here. It's just the report. But here's the whole report over here, guidance, etc. So you can see all that over here. So again, there was a big, they have a big project and going ahead and saying, look, we've done all the research and all that, return on investment and use cases for where this would make sense, right? So they're not saying, let's go ahead and build rail in the middle of nowhere and this is what you're going to get. No, it's more to say, how can you calculate the benefits and costs to say where rail can work, because rail is not going to work absolutely everywhere. Sometimes it does make sense to go ahead and build a road, especially in places where it's sparsely populated. But in terms of connecting large metropolitan areas to more large metropolitan areas and connecting areas in between, then it makes sense to go ahead and build passenger rail from anything between commuter rail all the way up to high-speed rail. And that all depends on, costs and benefits. So it's an article here saying that, and they have a calculator that goes ahead and does all that. So maybe we'll look a little bit more into that and see what it actually does. But there you go. It's available for you guys to go ahead and look it up. Just find that on here, and we'll probably link it later on. But yeah, that's what it is. Your thoughts, Ruben?
Like I have many thoughts right now, but I got a little bit sidetracked because someone asked a question about state-supported railroads. But I have to agree with something you said. Like, not every railroad is going to be the most successful railroad. Like, I'm paraphrasing it right now because there
are times when railroads. I'm sorry to interrupt. There are times when railroads can be overbuilt. Like Spain is probably a very good example of that, where there's places like Madrid, Barcelona, which it works very well, but there are places where maybe there's no need to have built that, and you're just wasting money.
I mean, I'll be honest, cool, another super chat. But
thank you, man. Shock2957, you're on fire today, man. Thank you so much.
Shock 2957, you're gonna get the certified badge of badassness. We're actually gonna make this.
I still need to make those badges.
Yeah, but
I gotta put that on an actual list.
But what I actually wanted to say, like, I have two thoughts right now, so I'm gonna keep my first thought right now is I want to talk about the not every route is going to be most successful route. Like, some routes are gonna be like these super spanky, high-speed trains of the future, and other routes, like in Montana, is gonna be like this GP39 train with a big engine and some coaches running through the mountains and trailing along a river and crossing the river on a bridge and then reaching the small train station, the small town. You know, I don't believe every state, every city needs to have this high-speed train service because, some states it works and some states it doesn't. That's reality, sadly enough, but that's the thing. In Europe, we had the TWE network. It was called the Trans Europe Network. You know about this, Demetrius?
Yeah.
So yeah, for people who don't know what the TWE network, the TWE network was basically a railroad network of first-class business trains between major European cities, and this TWE network actually got replaced by high-speed train services because countries are like, hey, on these routes we have high demand, and other routes with low demand became the EC service, your city services, or intercity train services, as in New York in the US. So, as I said, some routes they're gonna be like high-speed train all the way, and other routes, the more rural routes like Nebraska, North, South Dakota, and Montana, they're gonna be like the more slower service. But still, it's not bad because when there's one route very, generating a lot of money, they're gonna generate a lot of money for the least used services because everyone's gonna win. And I see you're very nervous to read the super chat, Demetrius. So please go ahead, read the super chats.
Let me see which one over here.
The,
Let me see.
Chuck.
Yeah, I've already read it. I'm just trying to figure out the answer to his question here. What is the projected cost of maglev from DC to New York? And the thing is about maglev that again, it's a very new idea, and it is going to cost a lot. I mean, I think the costs, if I remember correctly, like the cost over in Japan were upwards of around either $70 to $100 million per mile, and again. That's because it's a new technology. It hasn't proliferated yet as much as it has. Whereas high speed rail technology, even though it was more expensive before, it's the costs have gone down because of more efficiency. Very much like in the computer space. If I can remember the exact term for it, I know I've said it a couple times before. The laws of I don't know, Ruben, if you know what I'm talking about here, right?
Yeah.
If anybody in the chat can remember what I'm talking about, that as more innovation happens within the computer space or within any space or in economics, then costs start to decrease. That's like a macroeconomic term. I'm trying to remember it right now. But the thing is with maglev, which was it?
Do you mean about continuous modernization or?
No, it's not that one. Let me see if I can look it up. But I'm looking on over here at the Northeast Maglev project, and they're saying, let me see, if Washington D.C., how many? That's like 44. That's like about 40 miles or so, right? They're saying here, let me see the cost. 10. Okay, so the exact alignment has not been finalized in the permitting process. So let's bring this up for the Northeast Maglev. The exact alignment has not been finalized in the permitting process. However, we estimate the cost of the first phase from Washington D.C. to Baltimore would be north of $10 billion. Right. So let's go ahead and open up the calculator. Okay. So we got $10 billion. All right, over let's say 50 miles. Right. So that's about 0.2. That's about $200 million per mile. Okay, that's super expensive. But again, that's because it's a project that hasn't been done outside of something that's been tested out. And once they build something between DC to Baltimore, it would probably have the cost of that. Again, it's a very expensive project. It's quite fast, but it's very expensive.
I mean, it also depends on what technology you're going to use. If you're going to use the Japanese technology or the Transhabit
Yeah, that's the
technology.
Japanese SC maglev. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because I thought like the Japanese technology worked with suction and the German technology worked with propulsion, if I got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, okay, for people who don't know a lot, like, the Japanese technology has like the center piece of track, and then you have maglevs on the left side, on the right side, basically sucking the train forward. And like the German technology is basically a simple track, is basically pushing the train forward.
Yeah, that's the thing, because the maglev technology between what the SC maglev uses
Yeah,
compared to the German maglev train, which is being used in Shanghai, it's
yeah,
different because they're using conductive magnets. So the one where they freeze it to a super
yeah,
uh, cold level. So that takes
yeah,
a lot more energy. That's why it's called
yeah,
superconducting, because it's superconductive. So basically, the tracks or the motors now, well, it's frozen down to a level, refrigerated down to a very cold level where the magnetic activity can be able to increase, where you don't have to use as much electricity. However, because the process does work. They've been using it for 50 years now in terms of experimentation. The problem is that it hasn't really been put into practice in mass use, whereas the maglev technology from Germany has been used in Shanghai for close to 20 years
yeah,
now.
yeah.
They were started in 2003 between Shanghai and Pudong Airport. So that's about
Whoa.
like 20 miles or so. Yeah. And that goes 250 miles an hour.
You just made me feel like a boomer. Like it's already news for almost
Yeah,
20 years. I just
I've
became a
been remembering
boomer.
things. Yeah, like how long ago Shrek came out and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and like how
I
old
just
we're
became a
starting to
boomer.
get. I'm like, oh god, we're boomer millennials now.
Mhm. Like we gotta fire up the Trans Am.
Yeah.
But no, like really, like from the European perspective, we gotta say, oh my God, Trans Rabbit is so much better. But I'm gonna say like the best technology that can win is
Yeah,
electric
someone said
now.
amortization. No, amortization isn't the term though. That's when you pay off all the debt. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
start to look that up. But let's bring in another article over here.
yeah,
No, let's skip that one. Here we are. A tunnel and bridge from Brightline will soon change the Brevard County landscape. So more information and more. Here's the thing when we're talking about construction is that what's going on in California. Yeah, we see that they're building viaducts and whatnot. The problem on those viaducts, they don't have any rail, right? It's just a concrete structure. Okay, so I mean, and look over here. It ends over here. You see the viaduct all the way down over here. It ends over here where I'm pointing the cursor. I don't know if you guys can see that well on your resolution on your screen, whether you're watching it on your phone or TV. We've been having a lot of people watching stuff on their TVs now, but and then it ends over here. And they're not using like a precast span method or anything like that. They're going ahead and literally building it, bit by bit on there and inching it out. Whereas every other country has pushed on with the precast span method. So they're using very outdated methods of construction, which is going to delay the project and it's going to cost more money. Whereas other countries have been doing the precast span method, which, just long story short, precast span method. So they have it already, they have the pylons already built out. They already have the spans. So these spans over here already built out, and they're just putting them one by one. So they can do
yeah,
that so fast in places like China, where they can build a mile a day. Whereas
yeah.
California has, maybe a mile a year. And
I mean,
it's more than a mile a year, but I
yeah,
mean, it
I
just
know.
goes to show where the rest of the world has completely, in terms of construction methods, have pushed forward. Where Brightline has actually put in the precast span method, where they're putting in tunnels that are already made, and they're just pushing them in place to make tunnels where instead it takes 2 months in order to put a tunnel there instead of 2 years.
Oh yeah. What's the name of the YouTube channel that got it covered all right, like Roman Rail
Oh,
fan?
Roaming Rail fan, yeah, he's
Oh
been
yeah,
doing a good job.
yeah. Like okay, guys, for real, if you're right here, right now in the chat and you're hearing me right now, like roaming rail fan, like subscribe on the channel and say like, hey, I got it from American Rail Club. Like I really like the precast things. Imagine it like Lego. You know, you build like the first Lego construction, then you put it together. That's the modern way of construction. And California is all on site, whilst everyone where in the world looked at.
I'm
Lego
sorry.
and said, like,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got the term. It's
That's
economies of scale.
yeah, true. Like interrupt me as much as you want because I'm just European. Like you're American. You're already way superior than me. But Lego. We all look at Lego and we're like, hey, what if you would like make it on this spot and then just put it all together? And that's how modern construction works. It's just all about standardization and knowing all of your stuff and then putting it all together and then see like, hey, this actually works. So, but still, like for real, like the roaming rail fan, we featured a lot of on our page because we feel like that guy is putting great content out a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the tunnel construction, like this is like the fun part about the.
And I mean,
wildlife.
he's been doing a lot, and it kind of makes me feel bad because I haven't been as active in bringing
Yeah.
out content, which I should be. And that's the thing. I have these spurts where I'm doing a whole bunch of content, and then I stop for like a couple of months or so, and then like I go back and bring like a big video or something like that, which I should be doing it a lot more. This channel should be doing a heck of a lot better. And again, let's go ahead and beat on me for another thing, and I'll go ahead and beat myself up again for another live stream. I should be doing a hell of a lot more.
I mean, we're back from vacation, so we can do back the Facebook page and all stuff. But the roaming rail fan, like that dude, like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows it.
I mean, yeah, it's what it is. It's just get out there and go ahead and film stuff and talk
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, that's what it is, and I could be doing that. And that's the thing. It's like I live right down the street. Well, not down the street. I mean, if the street is long, yeah. I mean, Shadeland Avenue is pretty long over here in Indiana or Indianapolis. But I live very close to Beech Grove. Which is, for those of you who are familiar, and those of you who are Amtrak fans, that's the big facility where they go ahead and repair a whole bunch of Amtrak trains. That's the big Amtrak facility right there in Beech Grove. So, yeah, again, I gotta get back in my contacts with Amtrak and see if we can go ahead and do like a tour of Beech Grove or something like that, because that'll be fun for all of you to go ahead and see, so you can see what Amtrak does there and some of the trains that they're painting for the new liveries for this year. Yeah, that will be fun. James Robertson, California is a mess. Yeah, I don't know which is more of a mess, Jeb Bush or California. Jeb Bush.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. California is not saying please.
Jeb is a mess.
I mean, you should. You're pretty close to Beech Grove. Like, maybe you should try like saying to Amtrak, like, "Hey, we're such huge fans. Like, please let me in. I want to film stuff."
Oh yeah, we were there before when trying to help to keep the Hoosier State alive over here in Indianapolis to Chicago. So I have some context. I don't know if they're still there, but I hope so. Newsom got assaulted by a homeless guy this week.
Oh, no.
What's with politicians getting attacked by people now? Like first it was Macron getting attacked by like the Nazbol or whatever, and now Newsom's getting assaulted by a homeless guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with the guys, but getting assaulted, like, damn, like, why?
No, look, I mean, let's be honest. Politicians before were in a lot more danger before. I mean, look, there were some politicians who were very well liked, which they can go out in like a car or something like that, an open car, and not get shot or anything like that. I mean, of course, we've had some politicians that have. And it hasn't been very well. One of them, 63 here in this country, and one of them that started World War One. But you had some where they could be in an open car and nothing would happen to them. But unfortunately, that's a whole different thing, and I'm not going to get too much into it. But yeah, I mean, look, it's what it is. Can maglev navigate neighborhoods between cities? Depend on what maglev. Again, when we talk about maglev, guys, there's a whole bunch of different types of maglev. So there's superconducting maglev, there's the linear maglev that Germany has, and then there's also smaller maglev systems like they have over in China and Japan, like the Linimo system that they have over in Japan, and the system that they have now, the Changsha maglev, I think in China, and the airport one, not in Seoul, but the other airport in South Korea. And those maglev projects, I think they were like one was like $36 million per mile. So that's actually pretty cheap in comparison to like some airport people mover projects. So I mean those are ways that it can happen. Don't do that in Dallas. Stay away from grassy knolls. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be careful with those, people with carcanos shooting out of libraries while you're sitting in an open car. But let's go back. Let's go back to Brightline over here. So Florida County makes deal on crossing upgrades and finally ends the suit with the Indian River County. They're finally done with that stupid suit that they were pushing over for years to try to sue Brightline in the county over there. So, longtime Brightline opponent, Indian River County, Florida, has agreed to drop its lawsuit against the passenger service over grade crossing improvements along the Florida East Coast rail line used by the passenger carrier. All right, the agreement calls for cooperative efforts between the county, state, and Brightline. Again, there's efforts and agreements between government and business. Okay, so just because it's a private company doesn't mean that the private company just builds whatever and government's just sitting back and just watching it happen. This has always been a thing. So in Brightline to pursue grants to cover an estimated $31.6 million to upgrade 32 grade crossings for 110 mile an hour operation. The county's share of improvements will be capped at $905,000. So they're not even paying they're paying less than $1 million. Which is less than what some county officials go ahead and pay themselves. Because county officials, the only thing they can agree to vote on is how much they can pay themselves even more. I was talking with one of my friends who still lives, in North Miami Beach where I lived, and the council members over there voted to give themselves a raise. It's like, oh, pat ourselves on the back, let's give ourselves more money, take more for the taxpayer. Disgusting.
The deal with Broadline, I know, like, hey, Broadline, they're going forward, but somehow, back in my mind, it feels like there was some dirty deal along the line. Like, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, there was this one very dirty deal along the line to drop the charges because some counties have some cash flow issues to express their certain.
No, I think it has less to do with that, and it's more to do. Look, because here it is. The full settlement is available here. TC Palm reports county commissioners unanimous voted to end the lawsuit after spending about $5 million in legal fees in fighting the passenger operator. So what happened? Why they dropped the suit is because they spent too much money. Look, all they had to do was pay. For the passenger rail upgrades, Brightline was going to go ahead and pay the rest of the money. They were just asking. Look, we're asking for a little bit, then a percentage of it, less than like $1 million, while Brightline's going to pay the rest of the $30 million of the upgrades. So this county literally spent $5 million to not pay less than $1 million. So that's why. You know why they stopped it? It was because they were going to get voted out. That's why.
I
don't think it was much of a dirty deal. They were going to get voted out, and they probably still will. There'll probably be some people running against them for commissioners and say that look at it. I'm running against an opponent who went ahead and spent $5 million of our own taxpayer money to attack a project that would help our state. Stuff like that.
I'm blue screening right now. I'm just blue screening right now.
It happens, man. What time is it over there?
No, it's 4:44. Like it's 4:44 right now. But I'm blue screening
Golly,
right
man.
now. So they spend more money than they've
Yeah.
Okay, my brain is melting right now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm having a short circuit right now. Like,
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm Belgian. I'm European. I should have prepared for this because I'm
Yeah.
used to like
This is
I'm a
American. This
guy.
is American politics, man.
I'm used to people suing something to get more money out of it, but the fact they sued for over $5 million just to get less than $1 million is just why? Why are they doing this to themselves? Who are they gonna raise taxes on? Just
Yeah, the
why
people.
are
Exactly.
why,
And then they'll raise
why,
taxes.
why are they burning money? Why? Why?
It's again. Remember when we looked into, Florida not all aboard and all like the citizens against the rail. You
True.
had
Like
the former CEO of American Airlines and a whole
true.
bunch of other county country club and a whole bunch of other people
Mhm.
who were basically lobbying a lot of senators to go against this, like Patrick Murphy, who was a
Yeah.
Democrat, who ran against Brightline.
I mean,
He's all about being green and everything. And again, it goes back to the money. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or
mhm.
Republican. It goes back to the money, which is why, websites like opensecrets.org, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They don't expect people to go ahead and look into that. When you just do a cursory search for 2 minutes,
Mhm.
and you can find a lot about,
I mean,
our politicians
yeah.
here in the United States. That's
I mean,
that's that's all that's all private. I mean, public information.
mhm. I mean, Demetrius, I'll be honest, like the episode about the who is behind the again the possession of the Bright Line train, that's
Yeah.
probably my most favorite episode because I remember searching so much research and like Demetrius, watch this, then Demetrius, watch this, and you were like, Ruben,
Yeah.
what is wrong with you?
That was
How do you
during my
get this?
tenure as a assistant for a lobbyist
Yeah,
in Miami, because I started to learn a lot about
yeah,
how politics works. I mean, that was like an
yeah,
advanced, master's crash course. Not even else. That's
yeah.
beyond college, because college doesn't really teach you that much about the real world. The real world teaches you about the real world,
Yeah,
and being
but
in that area and just seeing how politics works, it really is going ahead and taking a politician, go out for cafecito or something like that if you're in South Florida, talk a little bit about that, visit their daughter's, birthday party, get some donations to them, and, the strings are yours. And that happens a lot in politics anywhere across the world. But so much in the United States where even Brightline has to go ahead and play the game in order to get lobbyists. I mean, they're spending 80% more on lobbyists now than they did
yeah,
last year.
I
So they,
mean,
they know how the game is played.
yeah, I mean, okay, okay, I'm gonna be doing two interruptions. Like, first of all, like I remember with the one episode, you just kept constantly asking me like, dude, how do you keep finding this information? I remember you asking like, how did you find this? But I'm now gonna aim myself towards chat. Okay, chat, like right now in YouTube or comments. I don't know how you're following this, but chat, I need your explanation on this. Is it normal that in the US they're gonna charge over $5 million
No,
on
they already did.
lawsuits?
That's the thing. They already wasted
Yeah,
$5 million
yeah,
for
I
lawyer
know, but
fees, for court fees, and all that.
I want to know this.
They
Is
went
it
ahead and got a
normal?
lawyer with a long
Yeah,
name with a lot of syllables or something like that to go ahead and go get this lawsuit, and then look what happened.
yeah.
$5 million down the drain.
But real chat, is this normal that in US they charge you like they sue you for so many millions amounts of dollars and they get less than $1 million? Is this normal? Like, is this stuff normal? Because in Europe, I'm used to like suing you for one thing and trying to get more money, but is it normal they sue you for more money and get less? Because right now I'm blue screening. I already learned about the Chicago St. Louis service. Um,
that the entire main line is still Union Pacific. I'm still blue screen from
Yeah.
everything here.
Let's bring in our last chat for the night. It's 9:49.
Yeah,
So we got David
I'm
Mitchell
looking
on board.
forward.
So let's go ahead and invite him to speak. Because I'm pretty sure he knows a lot about this too. He's seen this happen.
True. I want to hear his point of perspective on this.
What's up, David?
Hey,
Doing
David.
It's been a while, you two.
Yeah, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Started a new rail fanning series about 2 weeks ago on my YouTube channel.
Nice.
But you remember 2 weeks ago when I brought up when I was saying that we're going to have a lot more fallen flag class ones in the next 20 years, like probably going to see CXX, Norfolk Southern, and Union Pacific be fallen flags.
Yeah.
I can also see we are probably going to have a lot more new class ones in the next 20 years, too.
Oh yeah. But definitely there's going to be a lot more consolidation in terms of freight railroads because that's the only way they can be profitable.
Like, my hunch is, like, there are a few railroads that I can see becoming class 1 in the next 20 years. That, one of them is the Iowa Interstate. I can see that becoming a class 1. The Indiana Railroad in Indiana,
Yeah.
and the Wisconsin and Southern. I can see them three becoming class 1 in the next couple of years.
Yeah, there's a lot of smaller Class 2, Class 3 railroads that could probably be consolidated into larger Class 1s. Especially, look, with inflation going up, with a lot of, the cost of living going up, with a lot of, there's a lot of shortages of commodities that are out there. So, I mean, a lot of these smaller railroads, they have good infrastructure where they run between, but they're not going to have enough equipment or enough enough tonnage to go ahead and break even for cost of actually running that railroad. So they're probably going to get picked up by larger class 1s.
And here's something else. Montana Rail Link. Back in 2020, Montana Rail Link almost became the first new class 1 railroad since BNSF back in 1995.
Yeah.
So Montana Rail Link almost became a class 1, but they did not want to become a class 1 because they would have had to follow the class 1 standards, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And that's the thing, with how much rail infrastructure that Montana has, it wouldn't be surprising. And it's like companies like BNSF. I mean, they were smaller railroads before that, went ahead and consolidated themselves and merged together in order to create that. The same thing with what's going on with Canadian Pacific and Kansas Southern.
And with Pan Am too.
Yeah.
Pan Am is 6.
Yeah. So
And
now
here's
I have a
the-
railroad that covers between Canada, the United States, and Mexico.
And here, James, the reason why Montana Railway don't want to become a class 1 and they succeeded of not becoming a class 1 because all their interchanges are with BNSF.
Yeah.
So that would be their competitor, and BNSF would not be playing nicely with that.
Yeah.
Heck, and I can guarantee that BNSF and Montana Rail Link have to have a sign where Montana Rail Link cannot become a class 1. So, this was something that I guarantee Montana Rail Link did not want to happen because it would probably screw them, you know?
Yeah.
But there is another railroad that I do see becoming a class 1, and it's down in Florida. And it was a class 1 back in before the Great Depression. We're
talking about FEC?
Yep. They were class 1 before the Great Depression.
Yeah, they were. I mean, look, I wish I could show you guys the pictures. It's just having a problem coming on my PC. Henry Flagler was, I mean, even Rockefeller said that he was the brainchild behind Standard Oil. Standard Oil was probably after probably the East Dutch India Company was the most powerful company in the entire history of humanity. And even still, the Rockefellers are still stupendously rich. I mean, there's crap tons of money that is not even reported that how rich that they are as a family. But Standard Oil and the companies that have this, broken off on them are still probably the most profitable companies in all mankind. But Henry Flagler, that guy, and what he did to not only build the FEC down between St. Augustine all the way down to Key West, but the amount of development on the eastern seaboard of Florida would not have been possible were it not for him. Okay, I mean there's a reason why there's a Flagler County. Every other road in Florida is called Flagler, Flagler Road or Flagler Avenue or whatever. I mean that guy was responsible for that.
Now I'll be honest, it was sad to what happened to the Key West line, like down to Key West, Florida.
Yeah.
That they did the stupid thing. They tore up the track, and instead of keeping the track, they instead put a road there. Like, they did limit their capability because of putting a dumbass road, I'll be honest.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that's when we look at stuff like the overseas railroad. I mean, it was called the eighth wonder of the world for a reason. That was more than 100 years ago when that was built, and we still have problems. I mean, look, this is the best that we can do now. Let's be honest. Let's compare this to let's look overseas railroad, right? Let's go ahead and let's look at images of that. Look at this, okay? When this was built, I mean now it's crumbling apart. I mean, look at this. This this is the last vestiges of what's left over. That's a 7-mile bridge over there. But this, it's still standing there. That's over 100 years old, and it hasn't even been touched since then. But let's look at what it used to look like before. I mean, look at this. Oh, come on. Now it's saying the page isn't working. That's BS. Can I view the file? Oh, come on.
I'll be honest. Like, if that railroad was still around, like the rail line, I can guarantee if that rail line was still around, we would have the very good transportation down to the Keys.
Yeah.
Instead of having to rely on the road all the time.
So this is what America used to do 100 years ago. This is what we did over the Straits of Florida. Okay, this was built in a matter of a few years, right? This was built 100 years ago. Okay, no computers. No massive equipment, no massive earth movers or anything like that. These were just a couple of dudes in boats and in ballasts, going underneath the ocean to go ahead and build that. A lot of people, died, but they willingly, did it to go ahead and build this. And here we are with modern technology, with all the best that mankind can muster in 2021. This is what we built over a decade in California.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And here's something else. There is some saying that the Florida East Coast or the SCC will probably become a Class 1.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, it's the only railroad right now that's
in our lifetime.
They're running passenger rail again on the FEC. So I mean, and that's a sister company. I mean, Florida East Coast Industries and Florida East Coast Railway are technically two separate companies, but they're in very close connection in how they run.
Like, my hunch is that I could see in our lifetime, probably the next 10 years, Florida East Coast will become a Class 1 again in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. It will.
With all the big upgrades and with them upgrading their roster of motives, that's a big sign that they're beginning ready to become a Class 1 again.
Yeah. I mean that, and look, I mean with Brightline West, I mean they're probably going to build something else. It's probably going to be either here in the Midwest, most likely, or probably be between Atlanta and Charlotte. Would be the other Brightline project.
Because I can see the area between, like, in number 2 to my state of South Carolina, I can see them doing high-speed rail in the upper state of South Carolina.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'll just bring this back up. Like, for the East Coast, most of their locomotives run on hydrogen. You know?
No, they I don't think they run on hydrogen. They run on clean diesel. I mean, I think they're on tier 4 diesel engines.
I know, but the big locomotive that they have that extra tank in the middle of the two locomotives, I can't.
Oh yeah, they've been testing out hydrogen technology for a bit, but yeah, they're not all run by hydrogen though.
I know, but only the big long locomotives are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's another thing. Let me see. There was another article I have over here on locomotive experts urges rail industry to accelerate research on diesel replacements. It's going to be the reality where diesel is going to phase out, and there will be not completely phase out. There will still be diesel used in other areas because look, diesel is still a cheap way, and it's become a cleaner way to go ahead and run rail technology. But in places where there's a lot more density and there's a lot more rail traffic, it probably would be better to go ahead and electrify the system, which it used to be before some areas went ahead and electrified. And you had electric freight railroads here in the United States in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's only one intercity electric freight railroad left, and that in Iowa.
Yeah.
Like the Iowa Transit Company is the only intercity electric freight.
Yeah, probably most famously the Milwaukee Road was another one.
In the U.S.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot that can be done here in the United States, but it's just let's bring that up again here. Let's black pill everybody. Here we go. That's what we're this is what we built before. Here we are. This was us 100 years ago, and here's us now.
Yeah,
good night, everybody.
I know most people don't realize it. Like, we still have one intercity electric freight railroad, and that in Iowa, called the Iowa Traction Company. It's the last electric freight railroad.
Yeah, that thing is on its last legs though at this point.
Actually, it's growing. Like, they've been getting business left and right again. Like, there is sort line in Iowa that is actually growing again, like making a little comeback.
Yeah. There's a lot to again, there's a lot that this country can do. It's just a matter of where we're gonna go and who's gonna lead it. That's really what we're looking at.
There is another one in New Mexico. There is a electric coal freight railroad in New Mexico, but it cut off from the rest of the United States rail system.
Yeah. Again, I appreciate it, man. I thank you so much for coming on here, David.
You're welcome.
All right, take care, man.
You too. I gotta go to bed and take a shower. So I'll talk to you guys later. Later,
of course.
man.
Take care.
Yeah.
Have a night.
Take care, man.
I will.
Alrighty. Yeah. So there's a lot that can happen, guys. Let me see. We have one more in the audience. Let's see. It's 10:03 now. Let's see what the chat wants to do. You want to go for another 15 minutes and then call it a night, or we can go ahead and look at some other articles over here. But I'll probably leave them for the middle of the week. That'll probably get me to go ahead and work on stuff in the middle of the week, and probably have like a midweek stream or something like that, or a premiere or something. I don't know. More news. I gotta be doing that. More news and more edited, long format videos. What locomotives will diesel replace? Diesel is mostly gonna stay for intercity passenger rail and definitely freight railroads. We don't see it going more than that in the next 50 years or so. Even in the next 100 years, the way things are going. Unless there's a massive change in some place. There probably would be some regions in the United States that may electrify or whatnot. I don't know. Again, assuming the United States, stays together as one country, or goes, look, the country's still going to be here. It's just like Europe is. I mean, we're really separate countries in one union. Whether that stays or not, that's not up to me. I'm just trying to see what realities that can happen and where rail can fit in, and it can fit in every scenario. How much longer we got off the stream tonight? I don't know. Let's keep chugging on. Okay, so it looks like we want to do that. I gotta find a way to put like a flash poll on the chat, and then we can go ahead and do that. If YouTube actually cared, they would go ahead and make something like that. Will TCR use the precast method? Yeah, they've already said that they're going to use advanced ways of construction, including precast band method. Someone's asking Holly, who's the attractive man in the lower left? I wonder who that is. Who's that attractive man on the lower left on the screen?
It's me. I'm being project here. I'm just saying who it is.
Yeah, we gotta have you back on like a physical stream. That will happen soon, right, Ruben?
Yeah, true.
Maybe-
Like,
Soon.
I'm probably sure not that many people have seen my actual face, especially not after my weight loss. So I'm just gonna keep myself hidden for the ladies.
Yeah. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of other articles I got over here. We'll just look at some of the because I've read most of these. We'll just look at some of the headlines over here. With a friend in Biden, Amtrak has big dreams, but freight rail lines have other dreams. Again, this goes to say what we were talking about before. Freight rail lines are trying to expand as much as they can to make as much profit as possible for their systems of shoot, I just forgot the name. What are we calling it? PCR. Yeah, that's they're trying to make as much money as possible. And they really don't want to hear from Amtrak anymore. They just want to go ahead and make money, which it's not going to work. It's a very much a clashing. It's clashing together, and we're just seeing more and more of that. Amtrak is offering a Eurail style pass, like the JR Rail Pass usually does. You can now, for $2.99, this pass allows passengers to take 10 trips over 30 days. So now you can be able to do the same sort of thing here with Amtrak right now, which is new. Again, 30-day period, $2.99. The deal is available up to June 22nd, but you have 120 days from purchase to start using the pass. So that's a very good pass. Again, with probably less people using rail because of the COOF. You probably have the train to yourself. So this is a good way that maybe in the future, once this whole COOF BS subsides, that people will go ahead and start using this more often. So they're calling it the USA Rail Pass. So it's a very nice thing to use. We were talking a little bit about, we'll probably have this as like an off-the-rails segment or something like that later on, but I want to talk a little bit more about these EVs that are starting to proliferate more and more in the United States, and that's becoming more of a thing, especially since the government wants to push now EVs. But again, the thing is, here in the United States, when it comes to our automobile companies, especially starting in the late 70s and 80s, American car companies really pushed against foreign car companies coming over here and selling, cheaper cars, especially because a lot of the Hondas and Toyotas of that time were A, better built than American cars, B, they had a lot better gas mileage, and they were just better cars, period, and cheaper to go ahead and build. The American car companies, the big three, got too big on their britches and basically lobbied to heck in order to keep car companies, foreign car companies out. So they've become way too entrenched. So to buy an electric car, probably in the United States, where they're coming in now, the cheapest one you could probably get is a Tesla for what? A cheap Model 3 for maybe $35 with tax, tip, delivery all included. Meanwhile, in China, they're outselling Tesla with an EV that only costs $4,500. And that's the thing. This is going to become a thing, and how long is it going to take before something like this comes to the United States, or else the consumers are going to start getting ticked off and say, you know what, we don't want crappy overbuilt American cars that break down in 100,000 miles. If I'm going to get something that's going to break down, I might as well pay a tenth of that for a cheap Chinese car. I mean, we already pay for cheap Chinese products anyway. Why not a car? So that's that. Let's bring in Iowa Rail Fan over here in the audience, and then we'll call it a night over here. So, Iowa Rail Fan, I'm going to invite you to speak, and we'll call it a night over here. California's still trying to ban Tesla vehicles. I didn't hear about that. They're making it harder for Tesla, but they're not trying to ban them outright. That would be kind of silly, especially since a lot of Californians are drive Teslas. Although there was that article that came out where like 1 out of 5 electric car drivers went back to internal combustion engine cars. And that's more to do with the technology just not being up to snuff completely yet. Iowa Rail Fan, you are on. Hello. Welcome aboard.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Hello. Good, doing good. You?
Awesome.
So yeah, it won't be long till Tesla starts investing into rail transportation.
That could be.
Tesla electric locomotive, no catenary needed.
Well, I mean, they got the motors. All you have to do is just, make the motors bigger. I mean, of course, there's a lot more to do with that, but they could be an OEM supplier. Well, I think Tesla has an OEM supplier for their motors. They don't even make their own motors, do they? I'm not quite sure. There's always an OEM between every part that you get. Whether it's a Toyota-owned OEM that makes their own parts, or another like OEM like Mali or something like that makes parts for other companies. But that's again. Something for another time.
This is going to and to think about now an SC44 Charger, but was built by Tesla.
that would be weird. We'd be in a weird timeline if that would have happened.
Yeah. So weird. Oh, yeah.
Awesome,
I was
man.
just listening.
So, what do you think of the news so far?
The seats.
Oh yeah, it's the seats or any news or anything that you want to bring up or you want to mention in the stream. It's floor is yours, man.
But the seats are gonna be comfy. They've always been comfy in the past. Do you watch the Simply Railways? He goes around and travels on trains.
Yeah, I've seen some of that videos.
He has always liked the Amtrak seats. So maybe these new seats will even be better.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I guess I got into a point where I've gotten tired of it, and Amtrak was sort of a constant in my lifetime that everything stayed the same while everything else was moving far ahead. I mean, I remember playing, Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color on an Amtrak train, and then later on it would be like, years later and I'd be playing a PSP, and then years later we were playing Pokemon Go on a train, and like, geez, Amtrak hasn't moved anywhere. It's like everything is moving ahead, and Amtrak still stays the same. So at least with the seats change, I mean, it's just bringing, at least it's modernizing the upholstery and just the look of Amtrak, right?
And what's also sad, and I heard about this, is a lot of says the Amtrak has priority on transportation on freight rail. They have the priority, but there's no way to enforce it.
It's more that Amtrak doesn't want to go ahead and... Because they're kind of caught in the middle here, where they don't want to anger the freight railroads to a point where the freight railroads can push them off or make it harder for them. But legally, they do have the right-of-way, and they have priority. It's more of a matter as like, you can enforce it. Do you want to go ahead and actually, bring up the brass balls in order to go ahead and enforce that up? Now, Amtrak's leadership now seems like they're more willing to go ahead and grab those and really enforce that yes, Amtrak has priority, and we were able to go ahead and do that. That's the law. Whether it's fair or not for the freight railroads, it's just the law that passenger rail has a priority.
It does. And it always should, even if the freight railroads don't like it.
Yeah, look, and it's more to do that the freight railroads don't want to run passenger rails anymore, and they've basically forgotten how to run passenger rail since the 60s. That's just the way the country has gone since we've adopted more of a car, road, and airline culture. Again, that was brought on by the federal government that did all that and taxed the rail companies to death in order to go ahead and build unprofitable businesses.
Yeah. And now they want to demolish interstates.
It's more of it's not demolishing interstates. There's a better way in making interstates better. I mean, look, there's a lot of interstate work that's going on here, just in my local area, and it's more to do that the fact that the interstates haven't been upgraded or fixed up since they were built. I mean, they've only gotten patched up a little bit here and there, but they don't get fixed. They just get patched up.
There's a website that said interstates with no future.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's a lot of interstates. I mean, I was seeing it over here. I mean, I was driving over on 65 in Indianapolis, and you can clearly see a demarcation between where the city, used to be, and then like you see the road stop right where the interstate is, and that interstate acts as some sort of range between where the city works and where it doesn't. Like right on the other side of it, there's, buildings that were as old as the city structures on the other side, but they're all crumbling and falling apart. And there's a lot of neighborhoods that used to be prosperous that got split up by the interstates and destroyed. I mean, even through even in racial terms, it has messed up a lot of communities here in the United States. A lot of minority communities have been messed up because of the interstate. Even more than they were before at that time. The interstates haven't helped in a lot of places. Let's put it that way, because they cut through cities. Like I said before, you look at Detroit before the interstate and Detroit after. It's like the interstates have taken over and turned Detroit into a giant parking lot, where it used to be a nice city where you could take an interurban and go around the city and walk around, and it was generally safer. It was a hell of a lot more safer than it is now. Again, it's not to say that the interstates destroyed everything and the interstates are at fault, but they were a major player and still are a major player in the destruction of American cities.
Yeah.
Like here in the chat here, Gramble said, proof that government intervention kills innovation and competition even on rail. Yeah.
That's so true. If government gets involved, it's done.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Look, governments can do good, and governments can do bad. And that's the reason for government, is to make sure that the people have a fair chance of being able to live a life, especially, given, of the people, by the people, for the people, as we say here in the United States. That's government's job. It's not to go ahead and run the country for themselves and say, well, it's best for us and for, these companies. Companies come first, not people. That's not the way you do it. You need people to run companies. But again, it's why it started a rift between, where it literally has become the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. You look at like millennials now, they can't even afford a house because you have large corporations just buying up a whole bunch of starter homes for ridiculous prices.
My dad's a realtor, and house prices have just skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them are listed from $100,000. Now they're like maybe $300,000.
Yeah. There was an article over here. I don't know why it's not coming up right, but it says millennials facing financial and physical regrets after buying homes. It's like, okay, like over here, according to a recent Bankrate survey, 64 millennials aged 25 to 40 are facing regrets after buying a home, compared with 33% of baby boomers aged 57 to 75. The survey found that the older the buyer, the less likely they would have home buyer regret. One factor explained this divide as desperation. Younger home buyers are more likely to rush into a purchase, which can lead them to settle for properties that might not be to their liking. And again, mostly falling into two categories: financial and physical. Again, people are it's not the same anymore where you used to be that you can go ahead and, be a janitor, in a factory and be able to own a home and have 5 kids and on one income. You could be able to do that, and then like on the weekend just take an interurban to go in the city center, go see the city zoo, and then come right back. And this came from like a recent visit when I went to Cincinnati, and they have a whole exhibit there on how Cincinnati used to be with the streetcar. And actually, they have like the biggest model I think in the world of a streetcar model. It's the whole city of Cincinnati. The city used to be a lot more connected when you had that sort of system.
I miss the streetcar.
Yeah,
The streetcar was probably the best thing yet.
yeah, and it creates a sense of community. People are
And the
not
urban
locked away in their
railway.
cars. Yeah, it's the type of thing. It's like, look, we want communities to be able to be together, not people separated. It's like this whole thing that came up in COVID. This, together alone. It's such a terrible oxymoron, and it's no wonder why people are killing themselves and being depressed even more than they used to be, even before the COVID. I honestly think things economically and financially and socially are going to get a lot worse before they get better. But, and here's the good thing, at least we're starting to get wise to the solutions, especially under infrastructure, and that's why we're trying to focus here on the infrastructure and why economics are such an important part of it in politics, as to how we can be able to fix this, at least a major aspect of it. There's, of course, a whole lot of other things that you've mentioned, as to why things are going the way they are. But at least with infrastructure, that creates a massive solution into how we can get ourselves out of these problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's getting late here. I'm gonna go to bed now.
Yeah. Again, apologies if I pontificated a little too much, man. But I mean, it was a good segue into talking a little bit of some of these other things here.
Have a good night.
Again, I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Shit time, man.
All right. So it is 10:21 over here, the Eastern Coast / a part of the Midwest. Let's see what's in the chat, and then we'll call it a night over here. So we've had a lot of good stuff to chat about over here. Mostly it's been, I would say, 80% good news. I think that's a fair way of saying it. Yeah. And again, we try to be sober, we try to be realistic here, because we're not. Because I really do think it's a problem where there's a lot of YouTube channels that just try to focus on just good. And I try to focus on like those realistic parts of it that we have to talk about. Like things about like the Hyperloop and whatnot. All you have is like a whole bunch of channels that think and news articles that go about like, oh, the Hyperloop's gonna do this and the Hyperloop's gonna do that. They don't look into like the reality. Is like, well, what's it going to do? What's it going to cause? How's it going to affect people? Because at the end of the day, we ride rail, right? That's the thing. That's why we want to have this country to be prosperous and have a modern transportation system. That's what it is. There's a difference between wanting to drive and being forced to drive. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Ricardo Noel. Why and that's the thing. You have these companies like GM that just want to go ahead and sell garbage products to keep making money. And yes, GM makes garbage products. They literally go ahead and make cars to last maybe less than 100,000 miles. They don't give you a right to go ahead and fix your own cars anymore because they want to keep you on a dealership system where you're just going ahead, and they don't want to teach you how. I mean, so many people now don't even know how to change their own oil. That's a 10-minute job that you can do by yourself in your garage. Well, now they want to keep you renting an apartment, so you don't even have your own garage or anything anymore. Again, we don't want to take away cars from people. I love cars myself, but there's a need. Again, there's a need to have rail in this country. We need to have that in order to make it. So if all these Democrats want to talk about equity, then there's a real way that we can talk about that. It's making infrastructure available so people can have opportunities. All right? You're not going to do that by just pumping money endlessly into a whole bunch of communities and hope, it's magic dust money. All that's going to do is just drive in more debt. Okay? You want people to have labor, to have jobs, to be able to have lives. That's what it is. Let's see. Last comment over here, and then last two comments, and then we'll call it a night. Grambo, the point is cities are supposed to be pedestrian friendly, but they place their priorities on roads than actual people. Yeah, look at older cities here in the United States. And if you look at pictures of older cities, You see people walking in and out, back and forth, and there's there's horse-drawn carriages, and there's older vehicles back then. Even older pictures of New York, you had railroads, you had cars, you had people, and you had your horse-drawn carriage here and there, which were dying off. And of course, there was a reason why, is because horses crap a lot on the streets. It wasn't a good thing. Now horses still have a place in more rural communities. But in urban environments, it makes sense to have trains and pedestrian walks. That's why in Tokyo, like I said before, that city works because it's simple, that you can just walk out of wherever you live, walk down a block to a train station, and take a train to where you want to go, and walk another block, and that's fine. Everybody there was super healthy, and I think Japan does have like the highest living expectancy. Again, that's also a function of diet pushed into there, and genetics as well. Did my voice sound off on camera? No, I think your voice sounded fine. Let's see, last question. Did you read about news about the Baltimore Potomac Tunnel this week? Good news for the NEC. Yeah, they're finally going ahead and throw in, hopefully, to fix that up. Again, that's infrastructure that was built shortly after the Civil War in this country. And it's basically falling apart all over the place. It's just a testament to just goes to show you how well built things were even more than 100 years ago. Yeah, Tokyo is light years ahead of the United States. It's light years ahead of any metropolitan area here in the United States, for a number of reasons. But yeah, all right, guys. I think that's it. Any last words, Ruben?
I would say last words would be like, "Hey, Ruben, I love you." That would be nice.
We love you, Ruben.
Yeah. But yeah, real, guys, last words, last questions, post them now.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's it. We're going to call it a night there. Thank you all so much for riding on board. Give this video a like to make sure that the algorithm catches this. Make sure that if you are subscribed, that bell is rung. We will see you all on board next time. Take care.
Ciao, ciao.